Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to give you guys kind of an updated information on Vegas. Last week, I was actually in Vegas the second half of the week, like Wednesday to Friday at Vegas for a conference. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to give you guys a presentation as to um uh how it went, you know. So I actually
Okay.
did this PowerPoint when I was inside the hotel. So I was inside the hotel. And then so I want to kind of share the information with you. So Mina, point her. Okay. So
hmm
when you do the PowerPoint and it includes like videos and like pictures, it is copywriting. So you want to make sure, especially for college and university, you want to make sure
hmm
you reference the material. So you can see on the picture, I actually use PowerPoint. You can actually, there's a library. You can actually search
hmm
for pictures. They are already licensed. They're already licensed. So
Oh,
you will
okay.
not get in
So
trouble.
you won't.
Okay.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
You
So
will
that's
not get
very
in trouble
important.
using them.
Yeah, because the college professor, you need to make sure you're doing the right way. Okay. Okay. We're moving on. We're gonna get started. So how do I actually get there? So I actually flew I'm gonna one of my favorite airlines, which is Southwest. So the Southwest
hmm
airline is one of the most popular airlines in for domestic travel. You can see the airline is actually right here on the left hand side. So a
hmm
lot of people has been asking me like, how can I afford to do travel? Because Southwest even for domestic travel for a trip like this, it will be probably in the range about, I would say, $300 to $500 for the trip if you book
Oh,
like last minute, right? So
yeah.
what I actually did is I break it down for my parents and other clients as well. There's actually a really
hmm
easy way to go ahead and book it with your credit card reward points. And
hmm
what I did actually pay out of pocket was just the gas. So, just like a car, when you drive, you had to fill out the gas and you had to pay gas price, right?
hmm
So when you fly for the airline ticket, the same thing, even though the itself is free because you're paying by points, you have to
hmm
pay gas on that.
Yes.
So yeah. So this is actually the step I took to get there. So just make a mental note because this is really not really gonna apply to you guys because you guys have a different point or mile system in Taiwan. But it's totally
hmm
separate. But I just want to showcase, hey, this is actually the airline I flew, Southwest, which is my favorite. I also call it the bus because usually when you go to any airline, so um, when you travel, let's say by Korean Airs, or I think you flew on one of the Korean Air before, or a couple maybe EVA or other China Air type airline, they all have assigned seat, right? Where you have a ticket and then you go to that dedicated seat. That's your space for the flight. So Southwest
hmm
is actually very different. They operate almost like a bus system where you you can check in the flight, but they will give you a spot. So let's say you're group A and the number 15. So you actually line up by
hmm
that number and then you just
hmm
go into the airplane, but you can pick whichever seat you want. So I call it a bus, you know,
Oh,
the airline bus because there's no
that
assigned
sounds
seat.
really like a bus.
It is like a bus, yeah. So that's an interesting fact. And then the other thing is,
Bus in the air.
yes, that's in the air. So once I land, because I don't have a car, when I land into a certain
hmm
place, I usually don't have a car. I don't really enjoy driving that much. So
hmm
in Taiwan, there's two major on-demand car system. So
hmm
the top two is Uber and then Lyft. So those are the
hmm
two biggest ones. So you guys
Yes.
probably already know about Uber, right? Because that's kind of global.
Yes.
Almost all the country has it. And then you also have Lyft. So Lyft is kind of right now is exclusive in the US only. It's not um, international per se. But the
Yes.
reason why I
Yes,
have
because
both,
I didn't know.
the reason I
I
have
know
both is
nothing about
because
lift.
I know. So the reason I have both is I actually do comparison shops. Sometimes Uber is cheaper, sometimes Lyft is cheaper. So I'll
hmm
compare which one is cheaper or faster, you know. And then
Mm-hmm.
Mina, point. So you want to start and highlight this. So usually
Okay.
when you're doing any kind of research or trying to do any kind of work, you're going to download the app first. So
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. Because the reason why is like for example, you're doing the Microsoft 360 last week or 2 weeks before, and you use the
Mm-hmm.
website version, and it's kind of like jumping around, right? It's not really user friendly. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever that happens, the first thing I did is actually download the actual app because the
Mm-hmm.
app is more user friendly. So they did it in a way so it's very easily like dummy proof, you know. So
Dummy proof.
that's the feedback. So you want to make sure you star highlight underneath. You make sure you download the app. So that's number one.
Okay.
Because the worst thing is you can test it. If you don't like the app, you can delete it. But I would say
Mm-hmm.
over like 70%, the app is actually really helpful. So it will save you so much time if you actually do it on the app. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I use it to kind of comparison shop to see which one's cheaper, which one's faster. On top of it, inside the app, I also link my credit card, a travel credit card, for as a payment, so that way I can get extra reward points. Just everything kind of streamlined, easy, smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of time when you travel, you're very busy getting from point A to point B with the time difference, and the jet lag. So whatever you can do beforehand to kind of get that ready is the better, you know, so that way
Mm-hmm.
you don't get in trouble. Okay. Now, next slide. Right. So I'm actually stay at my favorite hotel in Vegas. And then, remember way back when I mentioned that one thing I do all the time is I do a T chart, right? So the pro
Mm-hmm.
con, positive, negative, that kind of thing. So I break it down. So the reason I really enjoy Vdara is basically it's the only hotel in on the strip or Vegas. There is no casino, no smoking.
Oh, no casino.
Because I actually don't like gambling. I don't like casinos and I hate smoke. Like the smell of the smoke, I
Mm-hmm.
hate it. Give me a headache. And then
Mm-hmm.
there is actually a pool, and it's also pet friendly. So meaning that if you're staying with your dogs or they're actually pet friendly, you have to pay a fee for it, but you can actually bring
Mm-hmm.
your pet to stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That
the
that's a nice
other,
feature.
I know, this is actually a huge plus because not a lot of places
Mm-hmm.
actually allow that. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing I really enjoy is actually the technology aspect of the door, because you mentioned in the previous session, it's like you are trying to do whatever we can to be like earth friendly, environmental friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And when you trying to do that, a lot of times technology is actually the answer. So especially during COVID, a lot of the company they're shifting from the normal like paper check-in, like paper mails and all that stuff. They're switching to digital. So that was actually the number one thing I test to see if they have that capability. And they actually do. So it's really smooth. I did went to the counter and talk to somebody just to kind of make it better. So I did get an upgrade on them, by the way. So that's the reason why I talked to
Oh.
them. I'll show you the video and you'll know why. But realistically, I could have gotten away with like checking in without even talking to the front desk. I could have done
Mm-hmm.
everything remote and on my phone on the app, because I was able to just
That sounds
go to my.
amazing.
I know I was able to check in on my mobile app, and I was able to use the mobile app as a digital key to unlock the room, unlock the
Oh.
elevator, and unlock the room. So security is definitely up to par. And then also there is an app where inside you can actually pre-order food and then you can go and pick up the food. So it was like, and then also when I check out, it's also you can just check out on the app directly. So everything was a smooth process. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to talk to the live person because you just got off the flight. You're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. So you can actually use the mobile
You're
app.
just
Check.
too tired to talk to
I
anybody.
know, like I don't want to talk to you. So that's all the positive. Now the con, which is the negative, because we always try to do two-sided story, right? So the con is the food options are extremely limited because this Vdara is actually it was actually a luxury condo, so like a luxury apartment, kind of.
Oh.
And it was bought out like last year by MGM. So there's like a huge Vegas company bought this over. So now it's kind of like a hotel, luxury hotel. But what it was previously was actually a luxury condo. So that's why when you go in and when I show you guys the video, it's gonna look a little bit different than a normal hotel that you see. So number one, the con is the food are very limited. So there's only like one small like cafe and also like a Starbucks. That's pretty much it, and then maybe like one restaurant. So
That sounds so
that
bad.
I know it's really limited. And then the second thing is there's no self parking, so you actually had to get a valet to help you to park. So that was actually cumbersome because my cousin actually came in a couple of times to pick me up and drove me to places, and he doesn't really have access to parking, so that's like a problem. Number three, water is not free. So this is one
Oh,
thing about Vegas you guys want to know is
water is
everything
not free.
they're gonna charge you like everything. They're gonna charge you
Everything.
for everything. That's just to be expected. And then just to piggyback on what you talked about last session, Mina, as you mentioned, we have the presentation for Germany, is the water there is hard water, right? So there's mineral stuff in the water. Same thing for Vdara. They're famous for that, which is horrible because the whole entire time I was in Vegas, I had to keep drinking water. And you can tell that it was kind of damaging your skin barrier and all that stuff. So that's the reason why, even though you can probably drink the tap water, but I still drink bottled water the whole entire trip. Yeah, so I actually had to figure out a way to buy bottled water because they're actually quite expensive. So, like for example, 1 liter of water. So that's like a big size of water. They were selling like $10 for that
Oh,
bottled water. But
that's a
that's a
luxurious one.
I know. So, but in the normal like a grocery store, convenience store, it's running about $2. So you can see it's like 5 times more expensive. In that setting. There's also no coffee machine and no smart TV because this hotel
Oh.
was kind of originally built or established back in 2008, 2009. So they have a lot of techie stuff, but it's not updated. So so it's kind of like in the middle. But they did a pretty good job
In the
on.
middle of the technology transition.
I know there's room for improvements, but that's one thing I regret is I didn't bring my Apple TV with me. That would make my life a little bit easier. But moving on. Okay. So the same thing I showed previously is like there is a system where I go in to book the flights where I'm just paying the taxes. The same thing with the hotel as well. So this hotel I booked is actually also 100% with points, and credit card points. So the whole thing turned out there's like it's free. So the only thing I pay out of pocket was there's a resort fee. So this is very famous for Vegas is they have a resort fee. Yeah, and that's very expensive. So I can tell you net out of pocket, I spent about $110, and that's actually for 2 nights. So the hotel
Two
itself is
nights?
free. Yeah, for 2 nights. So
Holy.
technically with the flight, I would say I spend about 250-ish, but that's hotel and the 2 nights of hotels. The
It's a
round trip,
lot.
like I know. So that's the really important thing is you have to know stuff like this, right? It's part of the managing your money is how to stretch the dollars. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about, and I'm gonna teach people more on my channel, is how to do that. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So that's another thing we kind of talk about. It's Vegas. A lot of things actually it's not free. Everything there's a price tag to it, and it's usually the price tag is pretty expensive. So the one of the reason I chose the Vdara is actually it's next to this hotel called area, which is also my favorite. But it does have a casino and it is smoking. However, because MGM, I mentioned before, they're actually bought out by MGM. So MGM owns MGM, Area, and Bellagio. Like they are all in the same group per se. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see the picture. There's actually a train that goes in between the 3 and 4 location. And the best part, this
Oh,
is free. This is free. So, because when
oh,
I got to Vegas,
it is free.
I know it's amazing. So, it was like 80 or 90 degrees, so it was extremely hot. So literally, because you're already dehydrated from water, and then also the heat and everything, you just don't want to be walking outside, right? And I also have
Yes,
blisters. That's
exactly.
my first day. So I remember they had this express train, so I'm gonna try that out. So I took that, and you can see you can actually go from Bellagio area,
Mm-hmm.
Crystal, which is a shopping mall. So there's 3 stations you can actually go between them. It's free. So, and the nice part is not a lot of people know about them. So when I got onto the train, it's not like rush hour
It's like a
Taipei
crowded train or
MRT.
something.
Yeah. You remember the rush hour Taipei MRT?
Ah,
It's pretty chill. Yeah. So, and then a nice thing is it's above. So you can actually have a pretty nice view of
no, that just
Vegas.
remind me of the rush hour in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very lovely too.
That's worse.
Okay. So, and one thing I am really passionate about,
Ding
which
Tai
I talk
Fung.
about is I love travel, right? So that's number one. And number
Mm.
two is I love food. So that's the
Yes.
other thing is I actually went and I actually survey the food and what I would recommend to people if they stay on this hotel, what they should eat. Okay. So what I included in the PowerPoint, which I already sent out to you guys, you can actually click on the link. It will take you to the actual website of the places that I recommend. So the another reason I picked Vdara is they actually have a Din Tai Fung, not inside Vdara, but they have it across the street at area. So you can actually
Ah,
walk in um and then make reservation and eat dinner
非
there.
常近距离的鼎泰丰。
Yes, Din Tai Fung. Yes. So that's a thumbs up for that. So I actually have that included in my video clip, which I'm going to show you guys later. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on. Now, we're all talking about saving money because I already saved money on the flight. I already saved money on the hotel. Um, the biggest other two thing is actually food, right? Because you think about it, biggest if you order food, I would say just a normal entree is like $20-$30, just one dish. So they're really expensive, like really, really expensive. So what I usually recommend if you go to any location, like especially in the US, um, go visit a grocery store or like a
Mm-hmm.
like a Target or a CVS, which is our
Mm-hmm.
convenience and food store. So you can go in first, stock up on water because we talk about water is like $10, 5 times more expensive if you were to buy it in the hotel. But here
It
in
is
the grocery
really.
store, they're all like $2 or $3, right? So it makes sense to
Mm-hmm.
get those things first, like fruits, waters, any snack you want to eat or any kind
Mm-hmm.
of food you want to like be able to heat up. So you can do
Mm-hmm.
that. There's also another website in the US. It's kind of like a discount entertainment or experience. It's called Groupon. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, maybe in another
Mm-hmm.
session. But basically,
Mm-hmm.
these are other creative way you can actually save money. Yeah, because a lot of the times when you're buying something. This is kind of a highlight, key point. So,
Okay.
usually when you buy things, let's say you plan ahead, um, and you already bought it beforehand, that's usually the cheapest way to go about it. But if you want to buy something last minute out of convenience, they can price the product really high. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because let's say you're really thirsty. It's like 9 o'clock at night, and you don't want to go to a convenience store. So you're gonna go downstairs and buy that bottle of water. It's gonna cost you $10. Are you
Yes.
gonna still buy it? Yeah, because you're thirsty and you need that
Because you
water.
need it.
So you're gonna pay the $10 and just suck it up. But if you had planned ahead and you actually go to the grocery store and buy this, you actually save yourself tons of money, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
why you have to planning is so important. If you know that's going to be one of the issues, you want to make sure you put that on your agenda and get that planned out right away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Other tips. Because we talk about Vegas, it's actually in the desert, so it's you
Yes.
definitely want to bring sunblock, hats, sunglasses, and comfortable shoes. Because the first day I already walk over, I would say 10,000 or 15,000 steps, and then I actually had a blister. So
Mhm.
that's not very nice. So make sure you have comfortable shoes. The other thing, okay, this one you want to highlight as well. So when we think about technology, it brings convenience, right? So it make your life
Yes.
easier. You can, manage time track and all that stuff. But the other side of the equation is technology usually it has a privacy issue or like security issue. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the biggest one is actually has to be with public Wi-Fi. So
Ah.
imagine you go to, I don't know, Starbucks, or you go to, there's a lot of free Wi-Fi places in Taipei. You are all sharing that network. So it's
Mhm.
actually, if you watch the documentary and whatnot, these are actually very dangerous.
Yes.
So, what I actually did the entire trip because I want to make sure myself I'm protected and my privacy is protected. I actually used my cell phone. You can use the cell phone. There's a hotspot, so you can open it and link
Mhm.
it to a laptop and use it that way.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
other thing that I highly recommend, and in Taiwan, people are start doing that now, is the Apple Pay. So
Ah,
basically,
probably.
you're not paying directly with a credit card. The credit card's added to the wallet and you're paying it. But when you do that, there's an extra layer of encryption on top of it. You're not
Mhm.
actually taking on a physical card as well. So the expert is actually recommending that because it cut down the number of identity theft and scam. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is something that I would recommend Leon to work with Mongo, like his dad, um, and give us a presentation on how technology can help us and ways that technology can also hurt us as well. So I think that will be an interesting topic to talk about during our summer project type. Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.